Hello and welcome to episode 223 of Checkpoint Chat. My name is Alessandro Barbosa. I'm joined by Matty Figuera.
A much colder me since the last time we spoke.
Is it though? It's a lot warmer now.
Not today, but let's be honest. So we missed last week, so apologies for that. You can blame...
last week was cold.
But you can blame ESCOM because they effed us last week.
I guess that ties into the cold. Is like it was cold, there was more load shedding, we got fucked.
Yeah, but last week, in typical fashion, I don't know how the rest of the country's doing, but in Joburg, it was just a surprise cold front, and then bam, you're in winter. It just happens. You don't ease into it. It's just on a day it's cold, and then it never gets...
And it came with all that rain as well.
Yeah, which is so weird. Why does it never rains? It might rain once or twice in April. It doesn't rain every day of the week in the afternoon like summer in April and May.
Yeah, the frequency of it was a bit weird. Like it felt like a summer rain. Like like you said, in the afternoon it just gets rainy and stormy, and that's a very summer thing.
Yeah,
but I grew up always knowing that it rained in May, always, because my grandmother always used to be like, it always rains on my birthday, and her birthday's on the 31st of May. Lo and behold, it was raining in May. And everyone's like, it never rains in May. I'm like, it fucking does. You guys are bad.
It just rains over your grandmother's house.
Exactly. Yeah, just over that house. I'm like, am I insane? Like, what's going on here? But that frequency, it was like 3 days after one another, and it were hectic storms. Yeah, that's not normal. That was
it is especially funny for me because there's a lady at my office who washes cars, and she does a very good job for 90 rand inside and outside. And I've taken my car for a wash. I mean, I wash my car there regularly. I've swapped with Lenska, taken her car for a wash there. And then my in-laws were like, "Oh wow, okay. When you going to the office?" So I've taken my father-in-law's car, and then a few weeks passed. Then my mom-in-law's like, "Actually, can you take my car this week?"
Oh no!
And I took her car and it rained. And I was like, "I'm so sorry. This never happens in May."
Rip.
Yeah.
I mean, you can never predict it.
No.
That is just the rain. It is chaos theory embodied.
Because I washed the car. We can't confirm these things.
It was like, I am going to fuck on this guy's parade, particularly.
Shit.
Yeah.
It's
fun. We're back. It's warmer this weekend, which is nice. But it is settling into that winter phase. Like, no one's just out there in t-shirts and shorts anymore.
When the weather's cold, do you have cold hands and cold feet in general?
Yeah, cold hands especially. Yeah.
So I know it's cold when my feet and my hands are cold. But weird enough, when it comes to my hands, my right hand is always colder than my left hand. I don't know why. So I know I'm pulling a face. So what I'm getting at, when it's winter, okay, my hands are cold equally. But in that in-between phase where it's like it's semi-cold, it's semi-hot, my right hand gets like ice cold. I don't know why. It's like from using the mouse. I don't know. It's weird.
Maybe you've got like blood flow problems?
I don't know.
That sounds super strange. I won't lie.
No, but I mean, I think it's probably like, look, I've got cold hands and feet regardless. But I think whatever's going on in my right hand is a little bit more severe than whatever's going on in my left hand.
Yeah. Like, could be maybe out of the two, it's the one that's moving least. So
yeah, that's what I think as well.
There's circulation there, so I don't know.
But it's funny because today, you're right, today is not too bad because both my hands are not cold. I think it's a pretty good indication.
It's the weather report. Are Matthew's hands both warm? Is one warm?
Is one warm, then you know it's like semi-cold. If both are cold, you know it's winter.
You're like, what's her name? The one character from Mean Girls who used to like touch her breasts to tell the weather, which is fucking hilarious. Like, it's just really funny.
Just touch my hands.
Amanda Seyfried, yeah, she's so good. Yeah, I'll just touch Matthew's hands. I'll like message Lenska, be like, what is the forecast for today? And she'll like just go and grab
it's cold. It's cold.
It's
winter.
cold. Both hands are cold. Shit.
Oh my God.
It's at least 10
Put
degrees
the heaters on,
today.
bundle up. It's,
Fuck's sake. It is funny though, because like the other day it was really, really chilly. And like I walked out of the house early in the morning to go to gym and I was like, fuck, it's like really cold.
Yeah.
And then I got in my car and the car's like, oh, it's 11 degrees. I was like, what? Like, it doesn't feel like it feels a lot colder than that. And then I recalled when I was in Italy, like when it was 11 degrees, it felt like summer because everything else was so much colder. Like it was like 2 degrees in most places. Like, so yeah, it can get colder. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have mild winters compared to Europe.
We
so
really
mild.
do. We really do.
Yeah, we have good weather here. And at least it's not like Cape Town who has rain during the winter because that is disgusting.
That's cack.
Who wants that?
I mean,
No.
we have winter sun in Joburg, which is just the best.
It is literally the best. You become like a cat and sun seek it.
It's the best / worst because when you're out in the sun doing stuff, you're like, oh my God, it's so hot. And you step inside like, oh my God, it's so cold.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But you can always tell it's winter when it's like, or at least my cats, they've started just like baking in the sun. They just like sit there and get warm.
When did you get your cats? You've had them for a year now, surely.
More than a year.
More than a year.
Yeah, we got them in April last year. Yeah.
Okay, so you got them in the heart of winter, but have you noticed, like in summer, they probably do their own thing. They sleep wherever they want. But in winter...
Oh, yeah.
In winter, they're like, hey, you're warm. We're going to anchor you down in the bed.
I told Shani in summer, they were very aloof. They wouldn't sleep near us. They were always like, they didn't really want to be like cuddled or anything. And I was like, wait till winter. Now, the one, Toby, you can just carry him around in your arms because I think he's very warm in your arms. So he just fucking melts in your arm. Amazing. Now they both sleep on the bed. They always on the bed. Like when Shani's in bed watching TV, they're both there with her. I'm like, yeah it's winter.
For me, I know it's winter. Okay, so there are other ways to tell the weather outside of my hands. Okay, it's when both my cats sleep next to each other. Then you know it's cold.
They want to cuddle each other. Yeah.
Let's just set aside our differences. Okay? We can come to an agreement here.
It's survival.
In summer, they won't be like within a mile of each other whenever they're sleeping. Like one's in the room, one's in the lounge.
It's just how it is. And come September, October, they'll become aloof again and break our hearts, you know? Yeah, it's horrible. Shame. Yeah, no, they're very cute. Cats are cool. Cats are very cool. You know what else is cool?
The weather.
Video games.
You know what else is cool?
Yeah, whoa.
Video games.
Damn. Got him. Let's check my chat. Talk about video games. And this week... boy, were there some video games. Well, one video game in particular. There's actually a lot we have to talk about because we missed an entire week. So we missed like a batch of like releases, so to speak.
But we'll start with the
game of the week.
The one everyone's kind of excited for.
A little small indie game called The Legend of Zelda. Tears of the Kingdom. Or every time I see the acronym for Tears of the Kingdom, it looks like TikTok to me. So this is just the Legend of Zelda TikTok right now.
Am I mad? For the weeks leading up to this game, for some reason I thought it was Tears of the Fallen Kingdom. I don't know. I don't know where. Where. So imagine my surprise when. Your camera's not moving. Hilarious. Imagine my surprise when, or maybe just weren't blinking. Imagine my surprise when the game finally came out. It's like, oh, it's just Tears of the Kingdom. I don't know why I thought. Otherwise,
just Tears of the Kingdom. No Fallen Kingdom here.
But
no Gerald Butler coming out of the fucking woodwork with a machine gun ready to go.
Not yet. This is the sequel, the highly anticipated sequel to 2017's one. It did launch with the Switch, right?
It did.
Breath of the Wild, a launch title for the Switch. I think the longest gap between a Zelda game, if I'm not mistaken.
The longest gap between mainline Zelda games ever, which is nuts to think about.
Just to remind everyone, Breath of the Wild was a revolutionary title. Really sort of helped set the formula for open world games in the sense that, it wasn't a formula. It gave you tools and it let you tackle the game however you wanted. And very few games have actually been able to follow that. I think the closest one we said last year was maybe Elden Ring, in the sense that it lets you tackle it however you want. So open world, you don't have to follow it from A to B to C. So
I think Elden Ring's the early game since to capture that sense of I want to go
feeling.
There, I want to see what's there, that sense of discovery. Yeah.
So Tears of the Kingdom really had its work cut out for it. And I think there's a reason there was a 6-year development cycle, because not only did they have to innovate, but I'm sure it was a thing of like, shit, how do we follow how do we
make something that's worthwhile?
What do we do differently? And reviews have dropped. So we only I think you said you've played maybe an hour. I've played 2 or 3 last night.
Yeah.
And that's we're both still in the starting island. We've still got a long way to go. But yeah, what are your early impressions of the game thus far?
I think firstly, this game looks and runs a lot better than I thought it would on the Switch.
It's insane.
It's kind of wild, yeah.
So maybe I'm mad, but just looking at if you're watching the footage now, it's very lush and yellow, which is very cool. I don't recall there being like sort of an autumn tone in the first game. It was, you were in green forest land, or you were on lava mountain, or you're in the desert. Like that to me was sort of the extent of the biomes. Yeah, and also, am I mad in thinking that the shadows are a lot more prominent in this game?
Maybe.
Distinct?
It's difficult for me to tell because like all of my memories of Breath of the Wild are colored by playing on the original Switch, and now, I recently upgraded to an OLED. You've had an OLED for a while now, and I think that definitely factors into it. Like it looks very fucking good because it's on an OLED as well. But it might, the shadows look good. It looks crisp. There's a bit of like weirdness with like the grass. Like when there's a lot of grass, you can see like, because the resolution doesn't always stick to the native res, it like shimmers a little bit. But it's like so minor because like it runs so smoothly. It just feels good. Like, it's great.
And the fact that this is running on 6-year-old hardware,
which is insane. Like, yes, it is still the same style and sort of overall look of Breath of the Wild. So, and Breath of the Wild ran pretty well on the Switch, barring a few areas. But it definitely does look like a bit of an upgrade.
Visually, there's something that's changed. It just looks better.
I guess also they're not having to remember Breath of the Wild was dev for the Wii U as well.
True. So
and at the time, they probably had to make concessions for that. So here they are not hamstrung by the fucking Wii U of all things, and can just go full ham on the Switch. I think this is really the pinnacle of where the Switch will be in terms of like visuals and performance as they probably transition to a new Switch probably next year. But yeah, that was like my first impression, like the cave starting area, and then this little like starting this little area you have at the start reminds me a lot of the Great Plateau. Yeah. It's like a small starter area to kind of like acquaint you with all the new mechanics before it's like, cool, here's the whole world.
You say small though, it's still pretty huge.
It's bigger than the Great Plateau.
I opened the map and I was like, oh my god.
It is like
this is
it's some
land
like
so
full on
big.
game hub worlds. It's insane. It's cool. And so far the structure is a familiar one. It's like there is something you need to do. There are shrines around that unlock powers for you, and the shrines themselves are like small little puzzle rooms that really show off the capabilities of those powers. I've only done one, and that gave me the Ultra Hand ability, which lets me manipulate objects and stick them together to create new like objects. So like if there's a gap and they're 2 very large planks of wood, I can align them, stick them together, and make like a bridge, which is quite cool. I don't know what you think. I think the controls for this specific ability, Ultra Hand, are okay. They're a bit fiddly because there's a lot of like, you got to press this button to basically get into this sub menu of abilities that then allows you to rotate it, and then this and then that. And I'm like, I'll probably get used to this, but at first it was a bit weird.
I can tell you, I had the same reaction. I was like, oh my God, if this is how it handles, doing this, shit, it's going to be, no, it's not a pain, but it's not intuitive,
it's not straightforward.
Having used it for an hour more, I've got it down now. Like even what frustrated me initially was that you can rotate things forward and like on a horizontal or on a vertical plane. Yeah. And so imagine, it's kind of difficult to explain, but imagine, you want to line something up perfectly upright. Okay. Yeah. It doesn't always do that immediately. Like it always, when I flip and rotate an object, sometimes sits at an angle. But
it's snapping. It's rotating in segments, not like a smooth.
But I've figured it out now how to get it like upright. So it is like a muscle memory thing. I mean, I haven't played much longer than you. and it feels a lot more intuitive.
It's pretty cool though, because like that said, like I was like, okay, this feels a bit unwieldy, but when I was combining things with other things and using it within the puzzles, I was like, okay, this is smart. This is like really, really smart, and I can see how this can go crazy.
This mechanic
with this,
rules. Like I'm again, I'm in starter land, okay, but already the things I've had to do, it's so clever.
the little way, I mean, it's in the shrine, so it's definitely teed up for you to do this. Like, but like when I attached that hook to that little wood plank and then picked up the whole thing and then attached it to the like rail, and then when I let go, I just jumped on, and then it was like a trolley.
It's amazing,
like a tram. I was like, oh my god, okay, and this is going to be cool.
Yeah, no, that's like the most basic of. I laughed. I was like, really? But it's like the most basic of basic puzzles, and then soon after you introduce to some other things which help you get more fancy with your designs. And I'm sure as we get deep into the game, there's going to be some really crazy items that we start sticking together. Don't judge me. I'm still trying to figure out.
You're real bad at this.
I'm trying to figure out the controls. For those of you who can't see, I have to put a plank over a gap. I'm really struggling.
I noticed very quickly that they do a really cool thing where they like provide that shadow.
Okay, so I didn't really pay attention to that. As you can see now, I notice. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you could tell when it's on this side and on that side. It's quite cool. I assume the other two shrines are going to unlock two other abilities of this new arm that Link has.
I know the second one is the weapon fuse ability.
Cool.
Now I wanted to tell you, do you find, so in the first game, they put you in the Great Plateau, you could kind of explore that. You could go to any shrine in any order you wanted to.
Yes.
Does it feel like this one is they are leading you to specific shrines first?
Yes.
Like I'm sure you can go to all of them. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But it does feel like it
feels a bit more curated.
We both arrived here first, and I think that was intentional. They subtly lead you to this shrine first.
I don't think the others are disabled. I don't think if like you knew where they were, you couldn't go to them. But this one was very much like emerge from the cave. You're at this great area. You go somewhere and you're like, okay, well, can't go here.
Yeah. And
the character's like, oh, you should go to this shrine. And you're like, okay, I'll go there.
But to me, it's that good Breath of the Wild design where that game as well, you could go anywhere. But isn't it funny how a lot of people ended up at, I can't remember what, is it the Zora? What are the fish people called? I think
the Zora.
Is the Zora? I think 90% of players ended up there first because the game is very subtly leading you there. And I feel the same here where it's not saying to you, hey, go over there, but you kind of end up there. Which is very cool.
No, I think that's why I say that so many open world games after Breath of the Wild didn't really learn from it, because it wasn't just here's a massive world, do your own thing. Anyone can do that. That's easy.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild its world was designed in such a way that its valleys and peaks and its landmarks would always stick out from particular angles and particular areas of the map. So you had something to look at and go, wait, I want to go there. Yeah. And they were very particular about, okay, when you're there, what are the things you can see from there that will guide you to your next thing? Yeah. And Elden Ring does that. Elden Ring is really, really good about that. So that's probably why those two are the like pinnacles of open world design, and why they stand out so far ahead of anything else. Like if you look at, I hate coming back to this game, but Horizon is not like that. Like Horizon is impossible to pass from a visual standpoint. Without opening up your map and being like, well, I need to go to that, marker. Yeah. And that's just what, to me, like if you're making an open world game now and you're still relying on that, that's kind of like boring. And I think that's why I don't engage with open worlds like that. So it's nice to play something like Zelda again. I'm really keen to get stuck into this one.
Same.
I mean, if it's anything like Breath of the Wild, this is another 100-hour gig. So stoked.
It's going to be good and long.
This is a months-long endeavor, and it will be a while till I'm finished. But the first one took me 3 months, I think, 2 or 3 months to finally like play, and I was like chipping away at it here and there, but I enjoyed it. Like it, I didn't feel like I was rushing it. You know what I mean?
I know.
So it was great.
I'm very, very excited to sink my teeth into this game. It feels good thus far.
Looks fucking great on that OLED. Jesus. Looks so good.
Super pretty. Cool. We've also been playing another little game that launched. It's obviously more than a week ago, just because we missed last week. But you and I have both put an ample amount of time into another small game called Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Which let's just talk about the shit first. It launched in a very poor state.
It's still in a very poor state.
It's still in a very poor state. So I think on PC specifically, this game is like unplayable for many, many people. And even those with, the top of the range graphics cards, CPUs, etc., are struggling to play this game because it's just not optimized. Lots and lots of problems. And on console itself, I mean, you and I are both playing on PS5. So we've got performance mode and quality mode. And like any other game, performance mode is, 60 FPS at the cost of visual fidelity and vice versa for quality mode. The problem here, though, is that both are not great.
They both have
performance mode. Sure, you get more frames, but you're not hitting 60 consistently, and then it makes the game
awful.
It makes the game look not crisp. Like, I don't consider myself like a visual snob, but even I'm like, oof, I can see this isn't.
No,
this
you
doesn't
can,
look right.
and the hit to visual fidelity is bad because, Digital Foundry did a whole video on this. You should definitely watch that if you're like interested. But like, this game relies on upscaling so much. The actual resolution it's running at is extremely low on both modes, like sub HD at times. So when performance mode is kicked in, it just looks fucking terrible. I think I just can't recommend playing like that.
Quality mode obviously looks a lot better, but it's not right. Like there are moments where I'm dipping below 30 even, which is ridiculous.
I think it's down to the point that both modes engage ray tracing, and you just have no way to disengage that. So it's like, the dips you're seeing on 30 is when you get close to like a body of water and there's reflections, and it's just like the whole game is just dying trying to render all this shit at the same time. So they should just offer a toggle, like turn off ray tracing. I don't give a shit.
I'll put it off. So if you're watching the video version of the podcast, I'm currently showing 30 FPS footage, so quality mode.
The thing is, I'll always play with 30 here. Wow, in the state that it's in now, because it's the most consistent.
No,
and
exactly.
When you're fighting in combat and you're trying to get parries off, the last thing you want is a fluctuating like frame rate, which affects your input latency, and then you can never time a parry because you don't know. You have like no muscle memory for it. So 30 will have the most latency, but at least you can account for it over time by like understanding where it's coming from. So and it's a real pity because I really like this game. It's a good game, and it's a great game.
I think it's soured the experience for a lot of people because, look, so I don't know how much you've played. I've played about 12 to 13 hours. I'm only on Jeddah, which is, I mean, you start on Coruscant, you go to a planet called Koba, which is what you're seeing on the footage now. And you go to Jeddah. So I'm only on the
Saloon planet in the Star Wars universe.
I've only reached the third planet. And from what I've played thus far, like I've really enjoyed my time. I feel that I still don't think it's a perfect game. There are things I dislike about it. Like the map system, still garbage. I think.
Wow, it's still so bad.
I can't fathom how one of the biggest criticisms of the first game just wasn't addressed.
Straight up not addressed.
Straight up like, okay, we hear you, but we don't. here's like an almost identical map system, which makes it very difficult to figure out where you need to go, which is an even bigger problem in this game because it feels like, again, based off my opening hours of the game, these planets feel a lot bigger.
Much, much bigger, much more expansive.
I think like the first game definitely had Metroidvania elements to it. this feels like they've lent into it a lot harder. You know, the
Mhm.
first planet's very open. There's lots of things to do. Good luck figuring out how to get there because
Lol, rip.
yeah. So I'm playing in the hardest difficulty. You die very quickly.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Other than that, though, like I'm very excited to dig into the story here. Yeah, so I just got swiped by Lupin, you little bitch.
Wow, how rude. Jesus.
I got such a fright.
Fucking, he's like, how dare you talk about video games and not about me?
That is so weird. He just clawed me. What do you want?
Yes. Did he draw blood?
And he didn't draw blood.
Not
but
yet.
yeah, so I've been rambling. You tell me what you feel about this game.
No, I think I'm very much on the same page as you. I think this game has performance issues, but it's still a good game. And I think that's what stands out the most is just really, really fun. I like that they didn't reset you at the beginning of this game. I think that is crucial to yeah, it's crucial to the experience because like you start the game as Cal as he was at the end of the last game in terms of abilities, and that's great because I can force pull a fucking stormtrooper and stab him if I want to, which is like one of the things I love doing at the end of Fallen Order because you only get pulled like quite late in that game.
Yeah.
Like if they took things away from you, it would just feel bad. So I'm glad that they've kind of pushed along with that. That said, I do feel like because of that, I do not care about many of the new mechanics. Because I feel like I can just continue playing in the same way that I've been comfortable with. So one of the big things added here is stances for your lightsabers. So in Fallen Order, you had only you had 3 lightsabers. You got one stance near the end where you could split them up, but that was only used as like a special attack. It wasn't actually something you fought in. Here, you're allowed to equip 2 stances at a time, which makes no sense to me. Why not just all of them?
Why can't you just use all of them?
It just feels weird. Like, so it's like single bladed or dual bladed or split bladed, or I unlocked very recently blaster stance where you have like a gun in one hand and the sword in the other. And then I think the last one is crossguard.
Okay.
Where you get Kylo Ren's fucking lightsaber or something stupid.
Nice.
I just don't. I've since the beginning kept single and dual bladed. I messed around with the others, and I'm just like, I don't see the point in these.
Yeah,
like,
this is where I get to be a critic and go and start nitpicking. And I think, why not adopt something similar to a Ghost of Tsushima, where, like in Ghost of Tsushima, you can rock with one stance, fine, like it does work. However, if you switch,
you'll have a bad time though.
Yeah, if you switch to another stance, you get like a clear advantage.
Yes.
Look, I don't quite know how it would be executed here, but I feel that the stances at this stage are, in terms of just show, like which one,
they're superfluous completely.
Which one do you prefer? Okay, well, I guess you're going to use that one. And it's been funny because visually I think the single blade is the most boring because you're single blade. It's like classic Star Wars, whatever. Not at all flashy. However, I've stuck to it because I've noticed that a single blade swap does way more damage than if I'm using, any of the other stances. Which, like when I'm fighting a boss, I don't have time to sit and chip away when they're going to hit me in one move. Like I need to maximize my damage output. So I'm not changing at all.
It just doesn't make sense within the context of the game they're making because like you said, if they adopted something like a Ghost of Tsushima, then the onus is on the enemies to kind of fill in the gaps of like this enemy is more susceptible to this stance. So it makes more sense in a fight to change this, but then you need the entire repertoire of stances available to you at any given time because in like Ghost of Tsushima, you change to like what are some of them, like turtle stance, water stance, and
I don't know if turtles one, but
you flick through them so fucking quickly. Like you like come up against a guy with a shield, you're like, cool, switch to the stance, and then you're in that stance. Like it needed to be that. The enemies here just don't really make any difference to the way you play the game.
I mean, as an example, off the top of my head, it's, for example, this enemy's they're very defensive. You need to break their stance with single blade because those blows are, heavier. Let's say
they chip a lot of stance.
But now this enemy moves a lot faster. You need to wear them down with quicker moves, so dual blade. But there's none of that really. It's just you can do whatever the hell you want. You know?
Yeah, the kind of mechanics are, attack, parry when you can, break stance, attack, parry, break stance. Like, and you can do that with any blade. It just comes down to which one do you feel suits your playstyle best. Like you said, you don't like the ones that do less damage because, hey, you're playing at a higher difficulty where every opportunity you need to maximize in terms of damage. Like you can't just fuck around there. Every additional minute in that fight is an additional opportunity for you to die. But whereas someone playing on an easier difficulty might be like, well, I like the flurry of the really fast split lightsabers just because it looks cool and I don't really have to care about dying. That's fine. But will they end up using something like crossguard or single blade? Then probably not.
Yeah.
So I just think it's like I get they wanted to innovate on the formula. I just don't think it's the right thing that they chose. Right move, because I've just kind of ignored it completely, and that's fine because the overall game doesn't suffer because the stance system is bad. It just means that it feels less fresh than it might have. But overall the game is good. I think the platforming is like I'm not it feels like we're very negative on it, but it's like nitpicking. Like the game is a lot of fun. Like the platforming's a lot better, a lot tighter. I think the levels are a lot more intricately constructed, so you can do a lot more cool things with the platforming. It's just cool. It's also visually from a sense of like variety, just so much more. Like it feels a lot cooler.
But even when the game works, like playing in quality mode, I've taken a lot of photos because the game does have moments where I'm like, oh man, like look how I joke about I've called Kobo. Is it Kobo or Kobo? Kobo.
I think it's Kobo.
So this is the first planet you arrive on, and there's basically a big saloon in the middle, which acts as your hub for the duration of the game. It's a very cool little
area, yeah.
Yeah, but then as I've explored this planet, I'm like, oh, it's not just cowboy land, with desert and tumbleweed enemies. It's like, oh no, there's some lush areas. It's actually very diverse, and this is just one planet. If you're watching the footage now, spoiler, I mean, this is very early in the game. Carl stumbles into basically like a Jedi sanctuary or temple underneath the saloon,
there's a lot of Jedi stuff here.
Great narrative, but like again, it's a very cool looking place, different to what I've just come from on the surface, or for the cavern that I walked through to get here. So I think they've really ramped up on that front. And again, like we still actually pretty early in the game. There are a lot more planets to explore.
I think there's a lot, Joe. It's a much larger game than Fallen Order. I've seen people say it's like a 20 to 30 hour game, which is quite expensive. And I've seen anecdotally people talking about like the second half of the story is just unreal.
Yeah.
So like I'm really enjoying the story already, and I'm enjoying the little seeds that they're using to set up certain conflicts.
Yeah.
I wasn't too hot on the like Cal has none of his friends, and now the first few hours of this game are you just recruiting them back. I was again, like, oh my God, okay. But once you get the whole crew back together, fuck, the chemistry between them is just so good. Like, it's, I'm really, really digging it. And it's a pity that Zelda's out now that is going to distract me from this game, but I'm having a good time with it. It also, we've talked about how it looks. It sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, my God, it is
great.
Like wall to wall, some of the best sounding Star Wars stuff ever. It just sounds fucking great. Good music, incredible effects work. Like, it is a Star Wars like treat in that sense. Yeah. It's got the look and the feel of a Star Wars game. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I suppose in some concluding words, because obviously we are going to keep chipping away at this game and finish it in the coming weeks, but it's like, it does a good job of making you feel like a Jedi, which I think,
100%.
If it's a Star Wars game about, Jedis, that's the thing you need to nail. So it does nail that, which is really cool.
And there was a thought by good old Timur Hussein on the Giant Bomb podcast he was like, it's good that there is just consistency in Star Wars games again.
Yeah.
He's like, when last was there a Star Wars sequel to a game that was actually good? He was like, probably Knights of the Old Republic. And I was thinking about it. And I was like, he's probably right.
Yeah.
Like, because Battlefront sequels have been bad. the Force Unleashed sequel was bad.
Yeah.
So the fact that this came out also only took 3 years, which is unheard of.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. And it's good. It is an improvement in most ways over the first game. It's not a regression in others. It's just not as much of an improvement as I thought they'd maybe think it would be. But like Respawn's making a third one of these. Like there's no fucking question. And I'm all in on another one of these games. I really enjoy them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, also, do you find it a lot easier?
It's a weird thing.
I'm not playing on the hardest. I'm playing on the second hardest, which is what I replayed Fallen Order at like earlier this year. I'm finding it much easier to deal with.
It's a weird thing because so did you ever play Ghost of Tsushima on what is that difficulty called? Lethal difficulty.
That like perfection. Yeah, I did.
It feels a lot.
Technically,
it feels a lot like
play,
that on the hardest difficulty because Carl dies very quickly, but also enemies still die quickly. Like But
this is the thing: the enemies are dying very quickly for me, like more than I thought.
Look, I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily because I can't imagine having to like break the guard of an enemy, hit them, break their guard, hit them. But it is weird how even some bosses I get to them, and then when I figure the boss out, I'm like, oh, like they actually go down very quickly. It's a couple hits, they're like huge chunks of their health are going down.
I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I'm just kind of surprised because I guess the point is like if you bounced off of Fallen Order because you really felt you couldn't vibe with the difficulty, like I would give this a go. Like catch up on the story of Fallen Order. There's a lot of story there, but I would say you don't have to play that game to enjoy this game if you just find the story elsewhere. Because I think this one's far more approachable in terms of how it designs its enemies, and it feels far less like a Souls-like and more like a Ghost of Tsushima. It's got the Souls-like structure in the like respawning enemies and limited health things and whatever.
It's a lot.
It's real fun.
The last
in the
thing
Star
I had
Wars
on the
universe.
game is the most ridiculous
Makes
thing.
fuck all sense. Makes no sense. It's a real. This is still a video game thing. Yeah. But I do find it, and there's a lot more accessibility settings to tune the game's difficulty to your desire. So, I wouldn't let your thoughts on like Fallen Order and its difficulty color this if you're somewhat interested. Yeah, it's a good time.
It is a good time. I'm very keen to keep playing.
You've got one more thing because apparently you just don't have a job and game all the time, so you're able to, do things like finish games.
It's not a thing of not having a job.
You just don't sleep, actually.
No, there's this thing called load shedding, which
true.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get the footage up here. I've put a lot of time into Advance Wars 1 and 2, the reboot camp as it's called, which is basically a remaster of a Game Boy Advance pair of games. We touched on this 2 weeks ago when I just started it. I think I actually don't know how much I'd played. It must have been a handful of hours. Since then, though, I've finished the first game. The campaign took me about 15 hours, and that wasn't doing every side quest like that. That was just me mainlining it. So a fair bit of content just on that
These
front.
Character names are killing me. Sorry. Olaf, Colin, Grit.
A Blue Moon Troop.
It's Blue Moon Troop.
And then, Advance Wars 2, I've only just started. I'm about 5 or 6 hours in. So I've had a fair shake of experience with both games now, and I really, really like both. I think if you missed the overview of what these are, they are Nintendo's own strategy games. Well, they're not
turn-based
they're not
strategy,
first-based titles, but they've only existed on. They're not first-party Nintendo titles, but they've only existed on Nintendo systems. If that makes sense. They're not first-party, are they? I don't think they are.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if Nintendo owns the IP. They don't own the developer, but
I don't look. Okay, doesn't matter.
I mean, they don't own a lot of developers who make first-party IPs. So.
Yeah. Okay. So these are only Nintendo titles, but it's Nintendo strategy titles, turn-based, and The premise is pretty simple. Like you take your turn, enemy takes their turn, and in these turns, like any strategy game, you can move a number of blocks or you can attack, and that's really the game in a nutshell. But what happens is each mission you do changes in some ways. So there's a variety of missions in how this game plays out. So, for example, a standard mission is, okay, you've got X amount of units. The enemy has X amount of units. You either have to destroy all the units or capture their headquarters. And that's it. Okay. But there are other missions like the one you're seeing now where you capture buildings and buildings give you currency each turn. And then you use that currency to generate units. And then the game is over when, again, you destroy all enemies or you capture the HQ. But how that happens is a bit different because now you have to strategize on what unit do I build, which building do I go for, that sort of thing. And then there's another flavor in the form of there's a fog of war. So if you're watching this footage, no fog of war, you know exactly where the enemy is. You can plan your moves accordingly. Where the maps where there are fog of war, there's fog of war rather, you need to be a lot more cautious because you do not know where the enemy units are placed. However, the enemy also does not know where your units are placed. So you can do cool things like set up traps or hard units with the hope that an enemy unit will roll up, and fall into a certain range of your attack, for example. And it's just further in the mix, you get a variety of units from ground units, sea units, air units. And again, they all do different things in different ways. And there are counters to each. So, for example, you'll get, as a ground unit, you'll get an anti-air tank, like an anti-air gun, which is obviously very strong against all air units, but weak against ground units. You'll get air units, which are great against ground units, but can't attack air units. And it's like this mix of finding out which balance of units you need to have on a battlefield to overcome your enemy. So sorry, that's just me rambling, giving an overview of the game. And it's just very fun. Like the way it plays out, missions can take anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on how smart you are.
That's not too bad. That's quite like bite-sized.
It is bite-sized. And it's funny because I'm not great at games like this. Like I think if I had to, rank my enjoyments of genres, like turn-based strategy games outside of JRPGs are like not my favorites. Like I appreciate XCOM for what it is, for example, but I'm not hankering to play an XCOM. So I think this is just testament to the fact that I enjoyed Advance Wars. The fact that I enjoyed Advance Wars is testament to the fact that it's very accessible and it's just good fun. I don't know. You played a little bit, but you didn't really.
I haven't played much since then, but yeah, I mean, this is the sort of game that I kind of vibe with, and I love. I enjoy certain turn-based strategy, like. This really showed me that games like Into the Breach really lend many mechanics from here. So I think that's why I was like, because it also has no fog of war. You kind of always see what your enemy is doing. So yeah, I do want to play more of this. It seems fun. I still hate the art style. I think it's bad.
The art style is not great.
It's not good. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah, I do want to get back to it.
One thing I will say for the second one, that feels like the mission variety is I don't know what the development gap was between the two, because mechanically they're identical. Like same units, there are a handful of new ones that I've seen thus far. But in terms of mission structure, it's not just a thing of, oh, hey, capture the enemy HQ or destroy the enemies. Like the mission I'm playing here, for example, it's, no, the enemy has a lot of units. You need to survive for 14 days. So they changed. It's like, I don't know if this is a correct expression, but they moved the goalposts a little bit. And it just makes the whole experience feel a little bit different. It's not just this thing of, oh, I need to now build units, destroy the enemy. There's a little bit more flavor to it in the sequel. And there are a lot more commanding officers, which I haven't touched on. The leader you play as also determines or has effects on your units, and also have special abilities. So, for example, the starting 3 commanding officers, The one named Andy is very balanced. His units sort of move the same distance, that have the same attack power. When he uses his special power, he can repair his units for 2 health each, which is very cool.
Okay.
Like when they damage whatever. There's another one called Sami who... It's Sammy or Sami? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's Sami in my heart.
Like a Sami.
Like her forte is infantry units. So they can capture buildings faster and they do more damage. And all these commanding officers... Oh, and the last one, Max, his forte is artillery. Like his tanks. His tanks do a lot more damage than other commanding officers' tanks. So all these little things just, it's about balancing strengths and weaknesses, and it comes together into what I feel is a very, very fun and accessible strategy game. What's quite cool is that there is a casual mode, which is what I've been playing on because I don't want to kill myself trying to figure out how to overcome the enemy. And it's still been challenging on some of the missions. I've really enjoyed my time with this game, and I will finish a second one after Tears of the Kingdom.
After everything else, gestures at the world.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Gestures at the world. Got so much stuff.
So much happening. Cool.
That is Advanced Wars. Good time if you have a Switch.
Advanced Wars. Should we move on to game releases real quick now that we are done with all of the games?
Excuse me.
Bless
I don't know
you
why I'm
again.
so allergic.
So allergic to all these game releases.
There's just too many games coming out.
Too many games giving you hay fever. We're looking at games from today, May 13th, all the way up to May 19th. Let's see.
There's
not that much. There's
Sorry, I'm just pulling it up my side.
Actually, I think it's only... pretty sure it's only 4 games because I'm pretty sure one of these was actually delayed. But anyway. So, first up, we have... just waiting for you to get there.
Where am I? Oh, is it up?
You're in June.
Sorry.
Yeah. Tin Hearts coming to PC, basically all consoles except Switch, May 16th. The Outlaws Trials, I think this was delayed by 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure I read that during the week, so this may or may not be out. I don't think it is. I think this just got delayed till the beginning of June. So, yeah. Coming to PC, May 18th. Firmament coming to PC, May 18th as well. I Am Future, same. Steam Early Access, PC, May 18th. And then lastly, running out the week, Lego 2K Drive. This is the Lego Mario Kart-ish sort of game that looks
is that out this
like
week already?
Forza Horizon almost. It looks real fun. Yeah. Coming to PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch, May 19th. That's it. That's it for the... Holy shit, can you believe that Lord of the Rings Gollum game is coming out this month?
May 25th.
Holy crap.
I know nothing about this game.
I neither.
System
all
Shock?
I know is that every time I see it, it looks bad.
Wow.
System Shock, yeah, the System Shock remake looks really good. I'm super keen for that. What else? Oh, okay, so it wasn't Outlaws that was delayed. That is definitely coming out May 18th. The thing that was delayed was Amnesia the Bunker. Yeah, I got the two confused. Okay. Yeah, Amnesia the Bunker. Yeah,
nice.
My bad.
Cool. Shall we get
I also think there was something else on this year, Humanity, which is coming out for PlayStation and PSVR. That's definitely out on Tuesday. Like, that is definitely... Yeah, well, it's on this list, but without a date. So, but that is absolutely out on Tuesday. I'm very keen for that. That's the new game from Tetsuya Mizuguchi, and Enhanced Studios, all the lovely people behind Tetris Effect and Rez. It's their new game where you control a Shiba Inu and guide people across like a lemming-style puzzle.
I was going to say modern-day lemmings.
Lemmings, yeah. It looks dope. I'm super keen for it. Yeah.
Nice. Cool. Shall we get to news?
Absolutely.
bit of news this week. What would you like to start with? Oh, I need to add this to the list. Please hold.
Let's go with Nintendo is just unstoppable right now.
They're unstoppable. What are they doing?
Yeah, so Nintendo Switch fiscal earnings are out. Turns out that, hey, they can't always sell more consoles every single quarter forever and ever. Their console sales are slowing down. Their console sales declined by 22% this fiscal year. And a lot of people have looked at this and were like, cool, new console. This is the time. Everyone has a fucking Switch. We need a new one.
I'm going to abandon you for 10 seconds. I need to blow my nose.
Okay.
You carry on.
So the company only sold just shy of 18 million units over the past 12 months. Nintendo apparently expects this decline to continue into its next fiscal year, which will end on March 31st, 2024, and is predicting another 16.5% decline, or around 50 million consoles that will be sold over that year. That is an obscene amount of consoles. I'm pretty sure Xbox had that number just as their normal number and not just their declining number.
I was with you the whole time.
Total, Nintendo has sold 125 million Switch consoles since 2017 in 6 years. Just as a point of comparison, the PlayStation 5 has sold 38.4 million and has shipped 6.3 million consoles this last quarter, January to March. So PlayStation getting up there. The big talking point from these fiscal earnings were that, everyone was kind of asking about new hardware.
Yeah.
But Nintendo has confirmed that no new hardware will ship this fiscal year, which means there will be no new Switch at the very least until April 2024.
Yeah.
Shuntaro Furukawa said to Bloomberg, sustaining the Switch's sales momentum will be difficult in its 7th year. Our goal of selling 15 million units this fiscal year is a bit of a stretch, but we will do our best to bolster demand going into the holiday season so that we can achieve that goal. No new Switch hardware till at least April. That doesn't mean they won't announce new hardware and launch it in
May.
summer of next year or the end of next year. I'm leaning more towards the end of next year now.
Yeah.
Because I really thought that they would do a Switch thing and do, early in the year and launch it. I don't see a middle of the year launch to be something that they would do.
No.
It would probably mean a holiday season release.
Yeah.
So another year and a bit with this current Switch, I think makes the most sense.
I mean, they said their goal of selling 15 million units is a bit of a stretch. And yeah, maybe it's a bit too much, but I still think the Switch is going to carry on selling.
It depends how because now the whole argument was that they didn't have any games beyond Pikmin in June because they hadn't announced a new Switch and the new Switch is coming end of this year. But now that it's not, they really need to bolster their holiday season if they want to hit that sort of target. In terms of releases, I don't know what they're going to put out.
I mean, and Nintendo, it's funny because they do tend to keep their cards very close to their chest. Okay, I know the Tears of the Kingdom we know is coming for a long time.
4 years, yeah.
But generally, Nintendo, they do directs in batches, and it is okay, here's a direct, and here's what's coming in the next 3 months, whatever. And it's, there's a new 100%. Kirby game. Oh, there's a new this. I do think...
And usually it's the first time you've heard of those games as well.
Yeah. I do think... Do they have anything planned for June, like a showcase or anything?
No, so, normally they would do an E3 direct, but a lot of the regular folk around all predict that there won't be one this year, which is, again, interesting because, they don't have anything beyond June in terms of, first-party exclusives. So...
I mean, they must have something planned, right, if the Switch isn't coming out for the next year. Look, I don't know.
Yeah, they must do something.
I still feel that a Mario is not off the table. I don't know if it'll be a brand new Mario. Maybe it'll be a port of an older one, but it feels like it's been a long time since we've had a Mario game
Yeah, I
don't know.
could see a port of sorts. I don't see a new mainline Mario now, because then they don't have a Zelda or a Mario for the next Switch launch.
Why
and
not
that's like
a 2D
no
Mario
ways.
now and then a Mario Odyssey for the launch?
100%. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. Or like they decide to put out a remaster of Galaxy 2.
Take my money.
Because they only had Galaxy 1 in that collection.
Yeah.
So, I could definitely see that. I mean, you've still got the Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remasters that could definitely come out before a new Switch.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime 4 is definitely being held as a Switch.
Look at you
2
thinking
thing.
Metroid Prime 4 is actually being developed.
Yeah, also that too, yeah. Yeah, who knows? A new Luigi's Mansion.
Give
I'd
Luigi
fucking take
another
it.
mainline game. Let's go.
Luigi's Mansion 3 was fucking fantastic. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I bet they put out a new Mario Kart on the new Switch. I think 8 is now
100%, yeah, 8 has been around for a lifetime.
Yeah, I mean 8 already existed before the Switch. It was just re-put onto the Switch and just continued selling. So I don't think they launch a new one before the Switch 2. I don't know. Maybe their plans for backwards compatibility with the Switch 2 are so broad that it doesn't actually matter. They can be like, cool, we'll put out a new Mario and a new Mario Kart now. And then when the Switch 2 launches, it's like, well, it's there. You can play that. You know, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose.
I guess sticking with that.
Yeah.
Japanese company, I guess. Sharp is making LCD displays for a new console. They've just said a new console. So now a lot of people have immediately jumped to new Switch.
Yeah.
To which I say, boo that it's not OLED, but also there are so many fucking devices this could be for.
Yeah.
We are now in a gold rush of like handheld computers, thanks to the Steam Deck. It could be for that. Like
for the Steam Deck too. You heard it, Jeff.
It could be for there's so many Japanese companies that might be wanting to do something similar, or at least companies that are contacting Sharp to make LCDs for their devices. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they are making for a something, whether that's a Switch or a Sony console or any other third party. I don't mean third party, like an Asus or someone who have just released the ROG Ally or who are releasing the ROG Ally fairly soon. We don't know, but they are doing something for someone. Yeah.
You see, what I don't understand is that the Sharp CEO, Robert Wu, basically said that the company will launch pilot LCD panel production lines for the new device during its current fiscal year ending March 2024. Now, that lines up with Nintendo's one. But if they are putting that thing into production now, or production lines now, that console's being made. Like, it's not like in a developmental stage still. It is like, we are using this.
Yeah.
We know we are using this panel. We are very close to, production.
Yeah.
But if Nintendo's not going to launch their new console till at least April, it makes no sense that production would be ramping up now, unless they're launching in fucking April. Like, then that makes sense. Sure. Like, I don't know. I'm just trying to rationalize. I don't think this necessarily means this is the display. I think it's just very easy to extrapolate the two, given that this news came out a day after the Nintendo earnings, and people were like, they're like, ultra hand ability.
What a weird coincidence. I mean, the following day. But I suppose keeping with handheld news, so we briefly mentioned the Asus ROG Ally, which I think we've touched on in the past. It's a new handheld which is meant to be a competitor to the Steam Deck. We did not have price initially. We were speculating like how much will it cost. Well, we finally know. I think the top of the range model is coming in at £699.
And dollars.
And
same dollar price. Yeah.
What a time we live in where
great price.
Where the pound and the dollar are like identical.
I'm sure the people in the UK are not stoked about that.
I think the cheaper model's coming out later this year, and that will be 100 less, right?
It's 100 less, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But that has like a less powerful processor. So
yeah. I mean,
if you're spending $600, just pay the $100
pay the
more.
100,
like,
yeah. But yeah, reviews for was it reviews or preview? It was reviews, right?
Reviews, yeah, because this is
came
out now. Like you
yeah.
can buy this now. Yeah.
So they dropped this week, and I mean, you could probably speak to the more technical side of it, but from my understanding is that it's an impressive piece of tech, like very powerful, but it's held back by things like battery life, the software itself, and a number of other things.
Yeah, I think I've read a couple of reviews and I've watched some videos, and it's interesting because there's a very different level of enthusiasm for the device and critique. Like The Verge, for example, was very critical of it, and they're the ones who brought up the battery life being really bad. Like it's got the exact same battery as the Steam Deck, but routinely wants you to operate it at a higher wattage, so it just lasts way less. And if you dial it back to the same power draw as the Steam Deck, which is 15 watts at maximum, it does outperform the Steam Deck, but not by much.
Okay.
So yeah, and then if you bring it back even less, like if you put it to 10 watts to try and conserve more battery life there, the Steam Deck actually outperforms it, which is fucking strange.
Weird,
It just means that this chip is not efficient at really low wattages.
Yeah.
But with that said, like if you are willing to compromise slightly on the battery life, the performance of this thing is unreal, apparently. Like it is leagues ahead of the Steam Deck when you give it enough juice. To the point where it's almost doubling the frame rate in some cases.
But in application, if I run this thing with all bells and whistles, how long is that battery going to last?
This is the thing. Again, it depends on the game you're playing, because other games will have higher power draws.
Yeah.
Well, they won't have higher power draws. You're limiting the power draw to the same thing, but like will require more power for the level of performance you deem acceptable. So yeah, I don't know. I think what's nice is that it is at a price that is actually comparable to the Steam Deck, where other devices like the Aya Neo and stuff were always like $1,000. So it was always easy to go, well, that's stupid.
Yeah.
Why would you do that? This is within the ballpark. I mean, it is. It's like $50 more than the top range Steam Deck. So they are competing directly with each other. And I think this, with its, it runs Windows 11, and yes, the software that runs on top of it to try and make Windows 11 navigable with the controllers is bad. But you also have access to all of your launches. You can play Game Pass on this. You can play. You can get Battle.net. You can get Epic Game Store without any of the. You can do most of that on the Steam Deck bar Game Pass, but it's a hassle. Like I've done it. It is a hassle. Like no one's going to tell me that it's a smooth process. So there's pros and cons on each side, but it's good that there's competition, because I'm sure this makes Valve look at them and go, okay, well, what are they doing that we can take from that? It's cool.
That's what I was going to say, is that like I'm still on the fence about getting a PC handheld device. Like I'd love to get a Steam Deck or even this ROG Ally, but I don't know. It's one of those things where, can I justify spending $600, $700?
It's a lot of money. It's more than a Xbox or a PlayStation.
Yeah,
it's a lot of money.
But I'm grateful that both exist, because it does mean that hopefully, a third person will enter and a fourth person, and then they, all innovate over and above each other, and the space just becomes better and better. So
yeah,
like I'd love to know who's the next person who's the next mainstream competitor. Like which company is it? Like I don't know.
I was quite surprised Asus got involved and then had one out so quickly.
Exactly. I mean, it's I don't know. Did someone internally go like, oh hey, we could totally penetrate that space? Valve have the only thing we've got the means to offer a competitive alternate. Now who else is going? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I would bet money on Alienware getting involved, Dell and Alienware.
Yeah.
They've sort of tried this sort of concept for years now.
Yeah.
So maybe this is time for them to follow through. And I bet the other one that will get into the space very quickly is Razer. That just seems like their bread and butter, like to do this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
interesting. We'll see. Cool. Well, with hardware out the way, we can talk about other gaming news. This is an interesting one. So there's a new Mortal Kombat coming out. It's being teased for a while now. And we all thought it's Mortal Kombat 12, but it seems that we're all wrong, and it's actually a reboot called Mortal Kombat 1. Because
numbers have no fucking meaning anymore.
Just throw it out the window. Everything you know. I hate it when this happens. I really do.
We are at that point now where three games into your reboot, you just reboot again.
Yeah. So we're talking about this on our Discord. And just adding it hasn't been officially confirmed, but Ed Boon.
It seems pretty.
Ed Boon tweeted actually a very cool teaser where it shows a clock counting from 11. It's going to 12, and then it just stops for a moment and then bounces straight to 1. Like that's a pretty cool way to do that. But it's funny because we were saying Mortal Kombat 9, was back then kind of a reboot for Mortal Kombat. I remember a lot of the games before then were like not well received. So this rebooted the franchise, and it retread the stories of the first 3 games through like time travel shenanigans. And now they're just rebooting it again.
They're just like, I mean, they backed themselves into a corner with the ending of 11.
Yeah.
11 basically saw the entire timeline blown up. And what's his name? Liu Kang was basically just like, cool, I can rebuild this from scratch. And that was the end of the game. So it always seemed like they were going with this is all being reset again.
Yeah.
But to call it Mortal Kombat 1, like if it retreads the same story of island tournament, that would be silly. They should definitely go in a brand new direction now that they've afforded themselves the opportunity with the ending of 11. So it's cool. I mean, look, I'm invested in the story because the story modes of these games are what I enjoy playing. I don't like playing the multiplayer that much. But I'll play it.
The story modes are really just long CGI movies where you get to fight every couple of minutes, which is
they're like
I'm
B grade martial arts movies where I get to interact.
A lot of fighting. Great. It's like, what'd you say about my mom? Let's fight. Like, oh damn.
Yeah, exactly. And like you finish a fight and you turn your head, and in frame a new person walks in, you're like, let's fight. And the person's like, whoa, I just came here to say hi.
That's literally how the story modes work, but I'm here for it. But just touching on that quickly, there's a report that claims that, I mean, again, I don't know where this comes from, but the report claims Mortal Kombat 1 DLC could include Peacemaker and Homelander.
That'd be sick.
Let me tell you, Peacemaker, cool, but Homelander this dude is made for the Mortal Kombat universe. It's the perfect fit. You don't even have to change a thing.
They've already got the Superman model from Injustice, so
just slap on Homelander's face, make it more gory. That's cool. You there.
His fatalities would be fun.
Yeah.
Like I want him to like laser someone in half and then drink from a milk bottle.
Oh my God. I forgot about that. So weird.
Guys,
Speaking of when's the Boys season 4 coming out?
Can't wait. Oh my God.
In very sad news, we're going to pivot real hard. Hollow Knight Silk Song has been delayed. The fun train had to end for this new segment.
I guess it was kind of expected because everyone knew, based on that stupid Microsoft promise that they made at their showcase last year, everyone was like, well, it has to be out by June, and we are now like midway through May. Like it was bound to be. Yo, guys, it's so not happening,
So we got a tweet from Matthew Griffin. Who is he? One of the devs, I presume.
I think he's one of the marketing folk for Team Cherry.
Yeah. So just gave an update saying we had planned to release in the first half of 2023, but development is still continuing. We're excited by how the game is shaping up, and it's gotten quite big, so we want to take the time to make the game as good as we can. I mean, take your time. It's cool.
Do you know what's hectic is that it sounds so non-committal to a new release date. It's just like,
it's fine.
Is this even coming this year?
I don't envision it coming this year, but
I was about to say I don't see it coming this year anymore, and that just fucking hurts me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Just hurts me.
Speaking, well, not remake. Not that Silk Song's a remake, but speaking of remakes, insiders claim Metal Gear Solid 3 remake to have PlayStation exclusivity, which would be
so there is
crazy.
there's a PlayStation showcase happening this month. I think Jeff Grubb said on the week of the May 21st. So within a week or so of now, we probably should get news this week of like a date.
Yeah.
PlayStation likes to announce that stuff about a week in advance. So, there's a bunch of insiders now that have said, at the showcase there's going to be a lot of Konami stuff. We're going to see like the beginnings of the reboot of Castlevania.
Nice.
We're going to see a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. We're going to see more of the remakes of Silent Hill, which have already been announced, and part of that will be an announcement that the Silent Hill remakes will be exclusive to PlayStation, at least for a time. And the same thing will be true for the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which is a bit weird because MGS3 is on Xbox. It's part of the Metal Gear Solid collection that you can play there. So it's not like, oh, this has only ever been on PlayStation.
Yeah.
But I think PlayStation's done some good business and convinced Konami to be like, hey, you are getting back into this game now. Let's give you a bit more money and make these things exclusive to our platform for any given time.
What
the sort of shit that PlayStation really was worried Xbox would do. I'm just going to say it, but
yeah. What makes me roll my eyes so hard here though is that I'm all in. Okay, give me a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. Cool. But then what happens if this is a huge success, which it probably will be if it's done well? Do they then reboot? Do they do it chronologically? They go, okay, shit. Okay, Metal Gear Solid 3 is actually like the first game in the whole story. I guess we're gonna do Metal Gear Solid 5 next, And then
it's weird because like there were reports that MGS1 was getting a remake as well.
But why start with 3? I don't get it.
I don't know.
Because then you go, okay, we're going to do 3, then we're going to do 5, and then we're going to do 1 and 2, and then 4.
I think if I'm not mistaken, Metal Gear Solid 3 is the best-selling one of the franchise.
I think so too. Look,
so that
I
could
get
explain
it,
why, but
it's just hilarious. Like, why? I suppose that's why they chose it, but it's just such a weird thing to me. Why not do the first one or even the second one?
Yeah. Let me just see
why
here.
Why not put Metal Gear Solid 4 on modern platforms so people like me can finally play it? It's the only one I've missed. That and Peace Walker.
Metal Gear Solid, wow. Metal Gear Solid 3 Subsistence, which is the PS2 one. Oh, in Japan, only 130,000 copies. I'm just trying to see here. This is a very strange list. Okay, Metal Gear Solid 3 as a whole, 6 million. Metal Gear Solid 2, 8.5.
So then?
Metal Gear Solid, 7.
So 3 is actually...
Metal Gear Solid 4, 6. And Metal Gear Solid 5, wow, 5 was way lower.
Really?
Oh, no, sorry. That was Ground Zeroes. Phantom Pain was 7. Okay.
Yeah.
So still not that great. So 2 is the best-selling one.
So I don't know. It's weird that they've gone with this one, if it's true.
3 is actually the worst-selling one.
Yeah, which is so weird.
No, sorry, 4 is the worst-selling one, but only by like 200,000, so it's like negligible.
I mean,
it's strange though because 3 is definitely the best one of the franchise. Like,
yeah,
like no questions asked. Sure, interesting.
Snake Eater, you ready to climb that long ladder in HD?
Bro, I can't wait when it's in 4K. I want to hear that song. I want to see every single piece of rust on that ladder.
I want to see Snake's cheeks.
Yeah. Give me an infinite photo mode of just... Also, make that sequence 10 times longer.
Make the song 10 times longer as well.
Just make it half of the game is you climbing that ladder.
It's hilarious. I love that that's a meme.
Yeah, it's so good. Someone must have done the math on how high he climbed in that sequence. Like, I would love to know because it is ridiculous.
It's super high. Defies all logic. And then last piece of news for this week. Upcoming Annapurna game parts ways with Gone Home Studio following toxic workplace reports.
Yeah, I don't know. This
So,
is super strange. Fulbright, the developers of, hit games like Tacoma and Gone Home, like around 2 years ago, they were kind of rocked with a report that alleged their co-founder Steve Gaynor had kind of made the studio really, really toxic. He was a terrible person to work with, lots of bullying and harassment. A lot of the co-founders of the studio have left. So a lot of the people who you would associate with Gone Home and Tacoma are no longer at Fulbright and haven't been for quite some time. Gaynor's, he stepped away from his management position and was strictly still a writer just at the studio, but he was still there. But now in a blog post that went up on May 12th, Gaynor says he's used the last 2 years to reflect and consider his working relationship with the Fulbright team, but also says the studio is no longer developing and representing Open Roads. That's a new game being published by Annapurna moving forward. And Annapurna Interactive is taking over the front-facing side of marketing. There's no real indication in the post whether this was like an amicable thing, like they just decided they didn't want to be associated with it, or like if Annapurna was like, fuck this, things are still bad at the studio, we are taking action, So yeah.
What game is this? Open Road. Sorry, I think I actually remember seeing this. Okay. So yeah.
Gaynor goes on to say he was unhappy in his managerial role and said that factored into his behavior towards employees at Fulbright. Okay. Despite this, he still is working on a solo project under the company name. So Gaynor and Fulbright are still very much one and the same. But yeah, like I said, it's not the same studio that made, many of the games that it is known for now. So yeah. Bummer.
What a way to end news.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, good. I think good. Just laugh advice in general.
Good life advice. Yeah, just don't be a
dick. I mean, it's not hard. Pun not intended or intended. On that note,
I guess
that's news.
That is the end of news. That means we're moving on to questions. If you want to send us a question, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com. Or you can message us on all of our social platforms. So
all of the platforms. So
what's on the docket?
I will double check,
today?
But I know we have at least 2 questions on Twitter. First question from Megs, who asks, how often should games be updated, even years after release? I've seen games left to rot for over 6 years with no love from the developers/publishers. I mean,
I don't think there's really any obligation.
No, but also is this maybe pointing to Redfall, which I suppose we haven't.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
we haven't touched on it. Redfall launched.
No.
It's a hot mess, really bad.
I downloaded it. I haven't started it yet, though.
I want to try it still. I mean, it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, I want to give it a go.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not playing co-op because the co-op structure of that game seems fucking nonsense.
Actual garbage.
Yeah,
but I do wonder if his question alludes to that in, hey, this game launched in a poor state. Do they support it? Do they try to fix it, or do they move on? Like, I don't
listen.
Like know.
Updates, or at least significant updates to a game, will only ever be considered if the game is still making money. That is just that's just how this works. Yeah. There is no reason for a company to sink resources into a game, into content or an update that they don't think will maybe turn around the fortunes of the game, or at least continue helping the game generate the revenue that it is currently making. So like Destiny makes money. They will continue putting out content because that continues making them money. Redfall, if they put out, because they are putting out like DLC soon for Redfall, I don't know why. If they put out content for Redfall and they see the player numbers don't go up, that signifies to them like, why do we continue updating this thing? They might do small updates here and there for quality of life, but there is no obligation for them to even address big issues with the game if there is no one there to enjoy it. Like Redfall is not something where like do they put out a 60 FPS version of that game on console now at this point? Because if no one's playing it, making it 60 FPS is not going to bring players in because fundamentally the game is bad.
Yeah.
You know, so why would they continue that work when resources at Arcane can be pushed somewhere else?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's an interesting question though, because like there are examples of games that launched poorly and have since had really good redemption stories. But again, I think it depends, like you said, the fundamentals of the game and how the game can be expanded. So like the age-old example, No Man's Sky launched, reviewed poorly. Now it's like one of the most popular games purely because they kept supporting it and they've made the game way better. But like
they must have had a vision at the start to be like, we can turn this around.
Yeah,
like,
but now
believe we can turn this around.
Can Redfall do the same?
No.
I don't know. Again, like another example that comes to mind, Rainbow Six Siege, when it launched. I think a lot of Ubisoft games actually they launched. I mean, at the time were like not bad, but not you're like, wow, you know, this game set the world on fire. Rainbow Six Siege launch was like, it's okay. Now it's one of the most played esports or multiplayer games because it's got continuous support. But it's a different kind of game.
Both of those examples, they honed in on something specific. Like Rainbow Six Siege came out, and they're like, okay, multiplayer shooter, but it has this and problem. Okay, who are the people actually playing it? Oh, turns out fans of Twitch shooters like Counter-Strike are actually still playing Siege. Let's go all in on that.
Yeah.
And they did that. Hello Games was like a bit more of a scattershot approach, but they've now honed in on people who are into the more like management style of game. Like they've got a lot of things like manage your own ship, manage your own planet, build this, build that, as opposed to the explorer story driven player. You know what I mean? So what does Redfall aim for?
Redfall,
I'm
like
not sure.
We've identified X number of players.
Redfall's like, you know, Hello Games, like No Man's Sky is a gigantic game. So the level of ability you have to mess with that and change it into something is quite large. Rainbow Six Siege is a multiplayer game, so your replayability is already there. You just got to tighten the mechanics to make sure that it's engaging enough. Redfall is a single player experience that has a beginning and an end.
Yeah,
you know,
so I don't know.
I don't know how you overhaul that in a short enough space of time that mitigates the risk of the financial like input you'll put into it and then makes it worth it.
Yeah. Top of mind for me, it's like, I mean, I don't know what discussions are going on there, but like maybe there's a means to make a horde mode or a roguelite mode, you know, because those tools exist. Maybe there is a way to use them to make something that does have replayability.
Sort of like what happened with Fortnite, where they had the tower defense mode and then they just made the battle royale. Now that's what Fortnite is.
That's it, yeah. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's a very, very steep uphill. Sorry, I just think,
there's no obligation. There's no game that comes out that is like, this game needs to have 3 years of updates. Like no studio is ever going to agree to that. No publisher is ever going to agree to that because it's just not sustainable. Like there's no way you can sustain a company and say we will put out this many updates. Like it's exceptional when it happens, but that's why it's exceptional.
Yeah.
Because it is not common. You're the only sort of updates you'll see every now and then is like you'll see like a headline like, oh, this game got its first update in 10 years. Why? Oh, it's a security update because someone's figured out like a flaw and they kind of need to do it before it becomes a problem. So they got one guy to look at it for 1 week and like plug a security hole. Yeah. That's it. It's not, it's barely an update at that point. So
yeah. Cool. Next question comes from, sorry, I had Twitter closed for some reason. From Gary Dunn at Geek Physique, who asks, what's the game or moment in a game that blew your mind and reminded you that games are more amazing than you thought before, even if you're already a big gamer? So many moments. I think the one that comes to mind for me, I was very, very young, but I always think fondly of Final Fantasy VII, the original, purely because I think that is a moment for me when I think there was just a switch of like, oh, like this is an actual story with, you know, at the time, you look at it now, you're like, oh, it looks so bad. But at the time, like, whoa, look at this CGI. Like, this is so lifelike. I can't believe this is a game that I'm playing through. I can't believe I get to explore this world and I get to talk to every person, even though every person in that time had one text box to say, but it was just like,
but
oh my
that's
God.
something to say.
Yeah, it's like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe how vast this game is. That for me was just like, I always think of that like, whoa, that is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good answer. I think for a lot of people that's why like Final Fantasy VII is so up there in their memories, is because it was that like big leap of, here's 2D sprites and oh no, here's this fully 3D realized world where there's so much interactivity and yeah.
I don't know. I've got another example if you still want to think.
Yeah, go for it.
So more recently, when I played Outer Wilds about 2 years ago, that for me was a thing of, this is one of the best experiences I've ever had, period. And it couldn't have been done outside of a game. It only works
absolutely
as a game. I was like, there's no ways they could have captured this feeling of exploration, discovery, and storytelling in a movie or a book. It would just never feel the same or work the same. And that game is, it's funny because I'll recommend it to so many people. I'm like, you have to play this game, but I can't tell you why. Also, you have to give the game a few hours because you might hate it initially, which is not a good sell for a game at all.
It isn't. Yeah, it's a difficult game to get into, but the payoff is just so worth it. So,
yeah.
Moment in a game. I would. There's no one moment in it. It's more just like the game itself. But when I finally got the chance to play Shadow of the Colossus, when it was remade, rebooted for PlayStation by Bluepoint, the sense of scale that game presents, like when you are climbing on a creature and you are hanging on like individual strands of hair to like scale this creature, is just like one of the most like vivid things that sticks in the back of my head, because I remember sitting in front of the TV and be like, wow, this is just, the camera like used to zoom out and it would make your little character look like a couple of pixels on there, and just give you the sense of weight of the sort of challenge that is ahead of you, trying to take down this gigantic being that it like dwarfs you in size. And it just is like such a cool, empowering moment, but at the same time very sobering to be like, you can die at any point of this.
Yeah.
Like, you are so minuscule compared to this thing.
Also, was that PS3 or PS4 when they rebooted? It's PS4.
PS4, yeah.
Did it not cross your mind at all going, holy shit, this was on PS2?
Yeah, it's nuts that existed on PS2.
How did they do that? I had a similar
crazy
moment where I saw, I'll never forget seeing God of War 3 on the PS3 for the first time. That opening moment.
Just stunning with Poseidon.
You're on the back of Gaia climbing up Mount Olympus. And I just thought, because the studio just nailed the sense of scale of like, you busy fighting enemies on her back, and then it zooms out and you're like, oh.
There's stuff happening around you.
And it's not like a cinematic. It's like, well, it didn't feel like a cinematic. It's like, oh, there's so much stuff happening over there.
Yeah.
And then I remember, so I never played the previous God of Wars. I never had a PS2. But when those God of Wars came to PS3 at a later stage and I replayed them, I remember playing God of War 2 and going, this must have been mind-blowing on the PS2. Like that opening, I can't remember what the enemy's called, but you're busy running through one of the cities and there's this huge like statue or creature walking around. I was like, how did they do this on the PS2? Like, this is the PS3. Like, oh my God, the PS3 is so powerful. How did they do this on the last gen?
It's nuts.
It's crazy.
Yeah. That's why those games are so like, at the time, they were technical showpieces for the PS2, like unbelievable amounts of scale for that sort of hardware. So, yeah, God of War has always done that.
It's a good time. Well, God of War reboots hasn't, I mean, they've been good battles, don't get me wrong, but there haven't been as many like, oh my God, Kratos is literally fighting a Titan. He's like this minuscule creature, the camera pans out, amazing. Like, not to take away from the epicness, but it hasn't been that scale.
I think they more injected that into the world. The world itself is more like grand and like, So yeah, no, there's a lot of those. I think on any given day you could ask this question and I'd have a different answer.
Yeah,
because it's like difficult to like trawl back through all your memories and trying to remember what like I can say that it's not specifically a moment, but just the entirety of how Portal works still boggles my mind. Like the number of videos I used to watch, just like it, like explaining the mechanics and like how it works, and just like I remember my head like going over all these possibilities for how you could do certain things. Like it's just such a 10 out of 10 thing that can only exist in a game, and it's like reinvigorates why games are cool.
But even
because they let you think in that way.
Even before Portal, I remember playing Half-Life 2 the first time, and that gravity gun going, whoa, like
I can pick up
things in this game have weight. Which is such a dumb thing to look at now, but that wasn't the norm.
No, it was novel.
When
it's
Half-Life 2 came out, it was like, holy shit, like games are too real now.
It's kind of sad that we've kind of moved away from that though, because like we in this age of very, very pristine and very put together games, developers are so scared to give you the tools to break things, you know, because they're worried about what that would indicate about the rigidity of their game. So if you look at something like Star Wars, you are only able to pull and push very specific things in very specific places.
Yeah.
Whereas Half-Life is like, fuck that. You got this gun. You can do whatever they want. And it leads to some really engaging, like divergent moments of game. And that's why Zelda's so cool as well, because it gives you those tools. They are not afraid to be like, yeah, just fuck around, see what happens. Like, so Zelda, what I'm saying is Zelda actually is Half-Life 3.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
I don't know how we got you, but we
got Gaben right there.
Okay, cool. That was a cool question. We have one more question from good pal Frank. I'm just going to read. So he messaged us. Very very interesting question. So he said, when I was watching Game of Thrones, I read a story about a guy.
Oh, fuck this question.
I read a story about a guy who had a terminal disease and wouldn't be alive for the end of the story. So the producers told him the ending beforehand. Since then, I realized that there will always be a game set to be released that I'm waiting for, because there's always something new coming. So now I think to myself, are there any games I need to know how the story ends? For me, I have to know how the Final Fantasy VII Remake story ends, and Final Fantasy Rebirth sequel to remake, and I'll need to see the one after that if it's a trilogy. Do you have any games like that? So basically, in a nutshell, are there any games or experiences that you are scared of missing? You know, you cross the road tomorrow, you get hit by a bus. Don't cross the road tomorrow.
Jeez.
And yeah, so for me, the obvious ones, I'm right there with Frank, where I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'll be very upset if I don't get to see the end of this arc on modern platforms. You know, I know what happens in the story, but I don't know. I'd be very upset if I missed.
I don't think there's any particular like game story that I'm like pining for. I think most of the like trilogies, so to speak, have kind of all like finished. So, you know, so I'm not going to be like, yes, I will be distraught if I never find out how Jedi Survivor ends. Like, that's sad. Final Fantasy would be kind of shit, but I
will be sad
I don't know.
if I don't get to play Silksong.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I'll be very sad if I never get to play Silksong. I'll also be very sad if I never get to play a imaginary Bloodborne 2.
My God. Bloodborne
2. The sad thing about this question is that there will always be something we will miss. There will always be something that, and I think that I'm going to get deep here. I think there will come a time in all of our lives where we are just unable to play the games we enjoy. So you will even see the things that you don't want to miss out passing you by.
Yeah.
That will suck. That will fucking suck.
That's the thing for me where I love From Software games. And I'm like, am I going to hit an age where these are beyond me? Where I actually...
Yeah, the dexterity required is just
don't have the
can't.
muscle capabilities to finish these games. And that like... I'm like, damn, I don't want to imagine that, because of course I want to play the games, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And even in terms of time restrictions, like but I don't know, where will I be in 5-10 years? Because the way I'm living now, like I've got time to play games. I'm doing a gaming podcast. I'm working on the Xbox account. Like I have ample time to, play whatever I want within reason. There are still some games that I miss, but I'm playing a lot of games. I'm like, this probably won't be me in 5-10 years. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I fully, if I look at my life today, I'm playing far fewer games than I was 10 years ago. And that's just because life gets busier. Yeah. But at the same time, that's forcing me to curate what I play a lot more carefully. If I play a game for 2 hours now and I don't enjoy it, I just turf it. Like I'm just I'm not there for things that are wasting my time. So I think it's not a case of like I feel sad that now I'm missing more games. I'm more appreciative of the ones that do engage me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. And I think that's how to look at it. It's not like worry about the things that you're going to miss out on. Just appreciate the things that you have the ability to play. Yeah.
Getting that tattooed on me today.
That's a fucking huge quote to get tattooed on you. Good luck.
Cool. That is all the questions. Thank you for all of those. Those were great.
Yeah, those are good. Thank you so much if you send in questions. And if you want to send in your own questions, you can email us checkpointchatpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on our social media at Checkpoint Chat. You can just fire off a message whenever you want. If you eating dinner, want a message? If you're pooping,
tell us what you're eating.
Message. Yeah. Don't tell us what you're pooping.
I know.
If you're driving, don't message us. Pull over.
Just pull over right now. Cool.
Yeah, pull over right now. Yeah. That's been episode 223 of Checkpoint Chat. As always, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate all of your support. And we will be back, as always. Well, ESCOM pending, next week for another episode. We hope you have a delightful week. Have a good one. See you next time. Bye.